make clear is this isn't about harassing jurors or anything like that.
Nope.
We're just performing our journalistic duty as Americans.
Absolutely.
We're not only entitled to do this as Americans, but we're obligated.
That's
To
well
do
said,
what? I
Jacob.
just went live. What in the world is about to happen here?
We are about to unleash and unseal all of the sealed documents in the Roger Stone case. The judge has placed him under a draconian drag order. The judge has sealed documents. The judge has conducted a kangaroo court. And we are about to put the scam to an end that's been perpetrated against Roger Stone.
Be cool. First of all, as you may know, we have offered Project 1599, Jacob and me have offered a reward of $200,000 per picture. Now, I want to say these are for compromising pictures of any candidate for President of the United States in any party. That's the highest per picture that has ever been offered in the United States. Higher has been offered in London for pictures of the royal family. This is the highest in the United States. Now, we also offer that $200,000 per picture for any compromising photo of a reporter that is doing inappropriate things who's covering a presidential candidate. We currently have a number of NBC reporters under surveillance because we have received tips and we are investigating whether these tips are true. Okay, that's a couple things. Now, other housekeeping, CPAC, as you all know, has banned us now for the second year in a row, which I think is very sad. We almost couldn't even get in the door. Sometimes I think that only liberals are welcome at CPAC. It's a very sad day here. I remember when this used to be a conservative conference. I'm old enough to remember from the 90s, but it's a very, very sad day when you have these bans. I feel like I work for CNN. Okay, so
why were you banned from CPAC, Jack?
we don't know. I would talk to them, but we have been officially banned, as you probably know. Yeah.
So as to, of course, why everyone is here today, what has taken place against Roger Stone is a draconian witch hunt. He's been placed under a gag order, even though the case is complete. He's been sentenced. He still cannot talk about it. It's like North Korea. And the judge has sealed documents in the case. And so what we are going to do today, both in paper form and we're going to give you a link to a repository so that you can see them and share them online, is we are going to be sharing with you the sealed documents in the case. This includes jury questionnaires. This includes grand jury testimony. These are secret documents. These have never come out. No one has ever released jury questionnaires in a federal criminal trial. This is the first time. Some would say that this is reckless. Some would say that this is perhaps dangerous for us to do. We've received threats, certainly. We know that the FBI has pounded on Roger's door and tried to find out how we got these documents.
And pounded on my door. I would just say, can I for one
Sure.
second? The deep state is very real, ladies and gentlemen, and a lot of you may not like our politics, but just remember the old poem about Adolf Hitler. First they do it to the Catholics, then they do it to this group, then they do it to the Jews, then they do it to you. They do it to us. Someday they'll do it to the press. The deep state is the greatest threat we face in our country today. We stand for one principle, transparency. We fight for it. We put things out. We've always done it.
And so that you can read along, I want to give everybody, and I don't want people glued to their phones, but I'm going to give everybody the link right now to read along. You can share this online. I would encourage you to share this on Twitter. Nobody who carries out this kind of miscarriage of justice against an American hero no less, deserves anonymity, deserves to be able to hide behind seals or anything of that sort. So the link so that you can follow along is Scribd. All of you have heard of Scribd, SCRIBD, scribd.com/project1599. You can see the documents there.
We have additional paper copies. I'm going to set these right here
Sure.
for anyone who would like them. I'm passing them around like a school teacher here. Here.
And so I'd encourage you to read along. I would encourage you to share those documents. And so let's talk about what these documents show. Of course, we all know now about the forewoman in this trial. Her name got out there. We don't know anything about how her name got out there. What we can tell you about these documents is they were given to us. They did not come from Roger Stone. They did not come from anyone on his defense team. We've never met Roger Stone.
I have never met Roger. I don't think you have either.
And so these documents have come to us. they lay out basically what happened here is what we call jury packing. The jury was packed with people that have ties to the CIA, people whose family are in the FBI, people who in fact have worked for the FBI themselves, IRS, attorneys, prosecutors, you name it. And of course, as you look through these jury questionnaires, what I would point out is there's not a single person in this jury that says they watch Fox News, that say they watch censored.tv, that say they watch anything of that sort. All of these people say that they're religious Rachel Maddow viewers, that they're religious Chris Hayes viewers, that they are religious followers of Russiagate conspiracy theory coverage. In fact, the forewoman in this trial, Tamika Hart, she says very clearly that she believes that Roger Stone colluded with the Russians. We know there was no Russian collusion. That's what the Mueller report says.
What you see, just as a lawyer, I can tell you, a longtime member of the D.C. Bar, you can never have a lawyer on a jury unless somehow you cannot, it becomes absolutely necessary because there are only lawyers in the pool. There was an IRS lawyer in the pool. Several lawyers in the pool. That's insane. How would you like to be tried by IRS lawyers? What you have, and all of you, if you look at these documents, will come to this conclusion. This is not us speculating. There's nothing open to interpretation. You will see very quickly there was an open, systematic, and deliberate conspiracy between Amy Berman Jackson and the prosecution to produce a jury pool that would convict Roger. There is no doubt about that. And then you all saw the other day Amy Berman Jackson from the bench condemning us, condemning Stone's lawyers,
condemning InfoWars,
condemning everybody, saying, how did these documents get out there, blaming the lawyers even though they didn't do it, this, that. It's very, very silly. Amy Berman Jackson, remember, God love her, she was a liberal pundit on MSNBC. She used to chyron herself on television, Democratic strategist before Obama appointed her. So let's remember what all this is about. She has blasted me from the bench before, and Jacob, when we did a fundraiser for Rick Gates 2 years ago, she condemned Rick Gates. She hauled him into court, said, how dare you exercise your First Amendment rights? The First Amendment in this country is dying on the vine. The Sixth Amendment is dying on the vine. The Seventh Amendment is dying on the vine. We are in trouble in this country. The deep state is killing it all.
So we want to have an interaction with you. Obviously, we know that all of you are just getting caught up on these documents that have previously been under seal. And it's going to take you some time, particularly these grand jury transcripts. They go on for hundreds of pages. So it will take you some time to digest this. But rest assured, what you will see is that this court was loaded up with liberal pundits, with Democratic activists. I mean, some of these people are so far left that you couldn't imagine them being on any jury for a traffic ticket. But when you talk about a politically charged case like this, the fact that they were placed on this jury shows that the jury was stuffed.
And let me say this. Again, we're not naive. We know what most of you think of our politics. There are things about which reasonable minds can disagree. There are things about which you can criticize us. This is not something about which reasonable minds can disagree. And when you see these jury questionnaires and transcripts, you will quickly understand what is going on. Remember, if they can do it to Roger, they'll do it to any one of you. And the next time one of your reporters from a major newspaper is hauled in on contempt charges, you will remember my words. They will do this to anybody and everybody.
So we want to open it up to questions here. Any questions on the material, on the jurors, on the procedure, anything?
Let's go to
Jacob
Ford.
and Jack, so we talked about this a little bit before you started, but you are releasing the names of all 12 jurors.
That's right. The names of all the jurors are here. Make no mistake.
Speaking, right?
And their information, their full questionnaires.
Only 2 of them have actually put their names out to the public. So you're basically how the public is going to have the rest of them. How do you see that ethically? Generally, people consider it unethical for journalists, et cetera, to release
the ethics, I'm not a philosopher. I don't comment on ethics. I can comment on legality. I'm a lawyer. There's nothing illegal about it in any way. I do think from an ethics standpoint that the public has a right to know. Sunlight is the best antiseptic. The government wants to classify and seal everything. You've got, half the documents in the public states classified or sealed. What seal and classify are weapons that the deep state uses against the public. We're fighting against that.
Yeah, Caroline Cass, Hunter Kelly, all these smears kind of backfire. Why should people trust you guys now?
The documents are here. They're right before you, and there's no denying that these are the jurors.
Here's why, Zach.
And we should make clear, we wish no ill will. We wish no ill will on these jurors. absolutely discourage any of you from calling. Hold on.
It seems like
from
small
calling these
potatoes.
jurors.
I mean, you
Small
have
potatoes? The first ever
Yeah.
released sealed documents in a federal case in federal district court in Washington?
So-
You call that
Next
small
question
potatoes?
here in the crowd. Who's next?
Who's next? We got that one.
Jacob or
Yes.
Jack, Owen Fairclough from
Owen.
CGTN. To pick up on this gentleman's point, though, you guys have done these kinds of news conferences before with these bombshells that you've promised against Elizabeth Warren, people like that. Why aren't you getting any mainstream traction?
I think we are. I think
Voila.
if you remember 1 year ago, we stood right in this spot and declared that Ilhan Omar had married her brother. Now
And
the
she
Now the New York Times admits that. Her own hometown newspaper, the Star Tribune, admits that. And so it's
And
all
she may face criminal charges
She will
because of
face
the
criminal
investigation
charges.
that this man did and launched and went to Minneapolis and risked his very life to do.
And so I think people see the writing on the wall and they know that there is no second guessing the evidence here. You know what I would encourage you to do, again, do not contact the jurors, do not harass the jurors. We don't want anything like that.
Of course not.
But Amy Berman Jackson's a federal employee. She works for you. Ask her if these are the real jury questionnaires, and she'll be happy to confirm that they are.
Jacob, any legal concerns pending your felony in California?
No legal concerns for me. Next question. Right there.
Pardon of Stone by Donald Trump?
We think that a pardon of Roger Stone will be forthcoming, especially in light of these documents. And we also think that some other figures that testified before the grand jury, namely Steve Bannon, are going to have a harder time in the public sphere.
Don't you think releasing the
Haven't these people committed a crime? When they say, I don't know about Roger Stone, I didn't tweet about Roger Stone, I have never really had a conversation about any of this, Tamika Hart, the jurors, and then they sign the questionnaire at the end. Isn't that a crime? And isn't that what Roger did?
If you look on the last page of every jury questionnaire, they don't just sign. It's not as if they're signing off on a DMV form. They're signing under penalty of perjury. And this is not just under penalty of perjury. This is the highest possible level of importance when you talk about upholding the justice system, and they lied under oath.
Let me call today, Gavin. That's a very good question. You reminded me of something. When I say conspiracy, the evidence that you cite, the signature that you cite, the perjury you mentioned, all of that goes to conspiracy between the judge and the prosecution. Now, you see how messed up. I want everybody to take a step back and think about this case. First of all, Stone should never have been charged. He's charged with lying and obstructing the Congress. That's a joke.
The very people that they claim he tampered would say he didn't tamper with.
I obstruct Congress every day of the week. Okay, but be that as it may, what you have, look at the prosecution, look at the Office of the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. I mean, this stuff is crazy. Crazy. They can't agree on a sentence.
Right here.
Aren't you afraid that doxing?
Relax.
Chill out, Gavin. Aren't you afraid that doxing jurors is going to lead to harm or injury? And it's the same thing that you accuse the left
No,
of
we're
constantly?
not.
We should make this clear.
'Cause you are
We are not.
doxing
We
jurors
are
right
no.
there.
We are not publishing their addresses.
No.
We're not publishing their phone numbers. That
But
would
it's
be
public
doxing.
It's publicly searchable.
Well, like we say, we encourage everyone to act with the highest professionalism and do not contact these jururs. I stand here today and tell you, do not do that. You will go to jail. You'll be in trouble if you
don't
do
your
that.
actions say the opposite?
But
No,
what we are doing is
they don't.
we are putting
the
everything
question.
out there, and
Well, I am an activist. and I'm
Ah, okay, so you admit it.
right here, right here.
Hey, Jacob. I know you have a relationship with. Can you get that on my face?
No,
please?
I'm just trying to hear the question.
Okay. I know you have a relationship with Darla Shine. Does she know about what you're doing here?
Okay.
With Darla Shine?
Yeah.
I haven't talked to her about this at all. I haven't talked to her about this.
Not activism at all.
Next, back here.
In the back. Correct.
You
Exactly
never-
right.
And not just lawyers, but government lawyers,
Yes.
IRS lawyers, people that have worked for the government. You have people in here that have run PR for federal law
I want to see the
enforcement
hands of
agencies.
people who would like to be tried by a jury of IRS lawyers. Think about that for a minute. Put your hands up. Let me hear that.
And again, I want to make this clear for everybody who's maybe just tuning in on live streams, etc. You can see all of these documents on Scribd. Everyone knows Scribd. Scribd.com/project1599. No spaces. Scribd.com/project1599. And don't just look at the documents. Share them. Make them go viral. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Get these
Let
documents
me tell
out
you
there.
something. We know when Congress, 40 years ago, when they were debating, shows you how old I am, in the House, they were debating whether to bring in television with C-SPAN into the House chamber. There was a big fight. Congress didn't want it. Everybody fought it. They made a lot of the arguments we're hearing here today. Look what the antiseptic of sunlight and television has done. It's made the whole system better.
Jack, just to pick up on that, if that's the case, you talk about freedoms being endangered. Why do you think that? This is arguably the freest country in the world.
It's not anymore. It used to be. I think that because the United States isn't the United States anymore, that's why we do what we do. We are declining. This is not Rome in the 1st century, it's Rome in the 5th century. We are fighting, trying to reverse this trend. That's what Project 1599 is all about.
Looks like
Ford,
we
do
have
you?
a couple of Ford here.
Roger's own attorneys on Tuesday only objected to the jury foreman. Only 1 out of the 12 being on the jury. Why do you think you feel differently about all of the jurors as opposed to Roger Stone's own attorneys?
Well, because you can look here. First of all, Roger Stone's attorneys filed secret motions to have a whole new jury pool established that were under seal. Those motions were thrown out by the judge who rigged this case. Let's not mince words here. Amy Berman Jackson rigged this case against Roger Stone, and she continues to.
And she has a history of this. It's not just this. Look at it in broader context. All of you remember 2 years ago when we did a fundraiser, Jacob and I did a big event for Rick Gates to try to raise money to help him. She condemned us from the bench. She condemned Rick from the bench. He said, I'm exercising my 5th Amendment rights. Her exact words were, shut up.
I should add that Rick Gates who's not a client of ours, but Rick Gates's grand jury testimony is in the repository. It's in the documents. Feel free to take a look. Feel free to share it. We would encourage you to share it. But any other questions here about the documents or anything else?
Who gave you these documents?
Yes.
Did the FBI not want you to do this? Wasn't this a huge risk?
That's right. The FBI has harassed Roger. They came to Jack's house. They pounded on his door. They demanded to know where we got these documents.
Yes, the Gestapo has been bothering us.
And we will not. I want to make this clear. We will not fold under pressure. There's nothing illegal about what we're doing. We will not talk about where we got these documents other than to say they did not come from Roger, they did not come from Roger's team, period.
If you want to know what's going on in this country, in December, Mark Tolson, former FBI agent, was convicted of hacking into my email. Let's say that again. In December, a former FBI agent pled guilty to serious cyber crimes for hacking into my email. What more do you need to hear about what is going on in the United States?
That's right. The FBI hacked both our emails. He pled guilty to 1 count, and he was sentenced to 7 days in jail by Amy Berman.
7 days. She gave him 7 days.
Roger Stone gets 4 years. An FBI cyber expert hacks our emails and gets 7 days.
Serious crime. The Bureau hacks my emails. The guy gets 7 days. Do you think there's justice in America?
Anything else here from the crowd?
Yeah,
A couple more questions. Sure.
Yeah, question for you guys. So, I mean, you didn't answer my question. Hunter Kelly, Caroline Cass, whatever happened to all these things?
What's that got to do with this?
It has to do with their reputation. I'm curious just why people should
let me take
you.
that. Leave aside for I know what you think of us. For the moment, we can talk about that another time. Set all of that aside, different views. Focus on the facts in front of you as a journalist.
Anything else? Let's take 2 more questions.
2 more. Let's
right here. Where did we get the we can't. I cannot talk about where I got the documents, other than to say that they did not come from Roger Stone. They did not come from Roger Stone's team.
No.
And they were not obtained through any illegal means. They were given to us. We cannot say by whom, but the documents are legitimate. They're out there, and now everyone knows who participated in this conspiracy against Roger Stone.
Project
Right
59. Oh, go ahead. Good.
I can't say. I mean, we've released what we have. Certainly, more documents could come in, but we've released what we have.
I know this sounds naive, Jacob, but if this is such a
Teacher, choose me. I did my homework.
We're banned.
Pick me.
We're banned.
They won't let us in. I studied all
is an
night.
organization that welcomes people like Jared Holt, that welcomes people like Media Matters, and bans people like Gavin McInnes and Laura Loomer.
They love MSNBC. They hate us. We're banned. We can't. They almost didn't let us in the door. This used to be a conservative meeting.
Let's take 2 more, and then we've got a roll here. 2 more questions, right back here in the back.
Oh, yeah. We got 2 more.
Anything else?
Are we done?
Okay, we're wrapped here. Thanks, guys, and again, share the documents. Scribd.com/project1599. Share the documents, look at the documents, and understand what actually happened in this case. It was a miscarriage of justice, and it cannot be allowed. It just can't be allowed in this country.
Take a quick photo, you and me?
Sure. Quick photo. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for coming. Check out the documents. You bet.